I didn't realize I was the backup plan until I tried to stop being available. My name's Julia Merritt. I'm 31 years old and I manage operations at a small hospital in Des Moines. It's not glamorous, but it's stable. I've been at it for nearly 8 years, built a little life for myself. Nothing fancy. Just clean sheets, a stocked fridge, and a cat named Echo who doesn't judge me when I reheat the same pasta for the 3rd night in a row. What I don't have is debt, or chaos, or a trail of half-finished dreams I expect other people to bankroll. Unlike my brother Kyle. Kyle is 28, charismatic as hell, and has never held down a job for more than 4 months. But to hear my mom tell it, he's just trying to find his path. I lost count of how many businesses he's started. A landscaping company with no mower, a gaming app he couldn't code, a podcast he never uploaded. Each time something failed, it was never his fault. It was the economy, or a partner who flaked, or Mercury being in retrograde. And each time, Mom turned to me. Julia, he just needs a little boost. You know how hard it is for young men these days? You're lucky to be so stable. That's always the word. Lucky. As if I didn't work nights in college, skip vacations, budget every dollar. As if I didn't eat peanut butter on crackers for dinner some weeks so I could pay off my student loans early. When I was 25, Kyle blew through the savings Grandma left him. $8,000 in 3 months. My mom cried to me over the phone, said he'd been tricked by some shady friend into a bad investment. She asked me to help cover his rent so he wouldn't get evicted. I sent the money, never saw it back. That was the first time I felt something crack, but I didn't say no. Not yet. It's funny how being the dependable one becomes a life sentence. You stop being a person and start being a lifeboat. Last month, Kyle enrolled in some accelerated coding bootcamp he found on Instagram. It cost $4,000 up front. He begged Mom for it. She called me that night. I know it sounds risky, but this time he's really serious. He's changed. I didn't answer right away. She filled the silence like she always does, with guilt. If we don't support him now, what message are we sending him? I wanted to say, that failure is supposed to come with consequences? That you can't keep burning bridges and expecting someone else to carry you across? Instead, I asked for the link. I looked up the program. It was a scam. No accreditation, no refund policy, just slick marketing and fake testimonials. I told her. She got quiet. Then she said, well, we already sent him the money. That's when I realized they didn't call me for advice. They called to let me know I'd be cleaning it up. Again. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just said, I hope it works out. And hung up. But that night, I started making a spreadsheet. Every dollar, every time, every favor. Not to throw it in their face, but to remind myself I wasn't crazy. The next weekend, we had dinner at Mom's house. Roast chicken, like always. Kyle showed up in new sneakers. He hugged me like nothing happened. I kept my smile on like it was stapled there. Halfway through dessert, Mom looked at me across the table and said, so casually it almost sounded like a joke. So, Kyle's gonna be staying with you for a bit. Just while he gets this new job thing going. You've got the space, right? No question. No pause. No offer. Just declaration. I looked around the table. No one else reacted. Kyle just kept eating. Dad refilled his wine like this was all routine. And I smiled. I said, yeah. If it helps him get on his feet, I don't see why not. They all relaxed like it was settled. But what they didn't know, and what I wasn't going to tell them, is that my lease ends Friday. And I've already signed a new one. Across town. In a 1-bedroom. Without a guest room. The text started Monday morning like clockwork. Kyle. Hey, can you clear the back closet for my stuff? Mom. We'll bring the mattress Saturday morning. Kyle's so excited to have a fresh start. Dad. I'll be by Friday evening to help with the boxes. Not one message asked if the move-in was still okay. It was all when and how, never if. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. They weren't texting me. They were texting the version of me who never pushed back. The version who always said yes. That version was gone. Tuesday, Mom called me at work. I let it ring. She left a voicemail, her voice sugar-coated but tight underneath. Just let us know if we should bring cleaning supplies. Kyle doesn't want to be a burden. He's bringing his own dishes. I actually laughed. I was eating lunch alone in the hospital break room, scrolling through emails when I heard that line and just cracked up. Dishes. As if that boy had washed anything other than his hands since 2014. That night, I stood in the middle of my almost empty apartment. Boxes stacked neatly, furniture already picked up by Goodwill, and let it settle in. For the first time in years, I wasn't planning my life around damage control. I was leaving before the fire even started. By Wednesday, Kyle sent a list of things he might need help grabbing. A desk, a mini fridge, maybe a TV if there's a spare one laying around. Mom chimed in with, "We'll help cover it if you front it for now." Of course, always for now. But this time, there was no spare room. No buffer. No soft landing. Friday afternoon, I finished my shift at the hospital, grabbed my keys, and drove right past the old place without even slowing down. I didn't feel guilty. I felt clear. Quiet inside. Like someone had finally turned off the static. I went home to my new apartment, a small one-bedroom across town, second floor, no elevator, but plenty of light. The kind of place no one would assume they were invited to crash in. Echo was already curled up in the window like he'd been born there. Saturday morning, I took my time. I made coffee. I walked through the little farmer's market near the park. I bought flowers for no reason. My phone buzzed 3 times, then 4. I let it sit in my bag. At 11:12 a.m., it rang again. I finally picked up. "Julia," Mom snapped, skipping hello. Her voice was all edge now, no syrup. "There's someone here, some man. Says he lives in your apartment, says you don't." I took a slow sip of coffee. "I don't," I said. "What do you mean you don't? Where are you?" "I moved. Weeks ago." The silence on the other end wasn't just stunned. It was furious. "You didn't tell us." "You didn't ask." There was rustling. Bags. Kyle's voice in the background. Dad muttering. Then Mom again. Lower. Colder. "This isn't funny. Kyle's out here with all his things. He's expecting to move in." "I never said he couldn't." "You said," she started, then stopped. I helped her out. I said, "If it helps him get on his feet, I don't see why not." That was a statement, not an address. More silence. Then Kyle's voice, finally. "So what? We're just supposed to figure it out now?" He didn't sound angry. He sounded lost. And for one tiny second, I almost cracked. But then I remembered the voicemail. The dishes. The way they'd all just assumed. And I felt nothing. "You always figured it out after you broke things," I said. "I'm sure this won't be any different." "Julia," Dad snapped. "This is ridiculous. You can't just disappear." "I didn't disappear," I said calmly. "I just stopped being easy to find." I hung up. Then I turned my phone on silent, poured myself another cup of coffee, and waited, because I knew my real front door would be getting a knock very, very soon. They showed up right after sunset. 3 quick, clipped knocks, loud enough to be polite, sharp enough to say we're not playing anymore. I'd been sitting on the couch with Echo curled in my lap, the room dim, just the soft glow of a lamp and the TV on low. I didn't even flinch. I'd been expecting it. Honestly, I was surprised it took them this long. I peeked through the peephole. Mom, Dad, Kyle. And a trunk full of boxes parked at the curb like it was some damn parade. Kyle had a backpack slung over one shoulder and a pizza box in his hand. The message was clear. "We're moving in. We brought dinner. I opened the door halfway." "You found me?" I said. Flat. Mom looked flushed, like she'd been crying or fighting or both. Her lipstick had faded and she kept rubbing her hands together like she couldn't decide if she was angry or scared. "We tried calling," she said tightly. We didn't think you'd actually. She didn't finish. It's my apartment, I said. Dad stepped forward then, not aggressive, but close. Too close. You said he could move in, he snapped. Now we're standing here with all his things and you're acting like we're strangers. I kept my hand on the door. I said, if it helps him get on his feet, I don't see why not. That was at the old place, which, if you remember, I don't live in anymore. Kyle finally spoke up, stepping between them. This is petty, Julia. You always act like you're so above everyone, but this is cruel. I tilted my head, calm. You packed up your life and drove across the city to move into someone's home you never confirmed still existed. That's not cruelty. That's entitlement. His face went red. He looked like he might throw the pizza. You're my sister. Yeah, I said, still calm. And you've spent the last 10 years confusing that with free housing. Dad's voice cut through, low and firm. Enough. We're not leaving. We've put up with a lot from you, Julia. You owe this to your brother. There it was. The word that always floated just beneath the surface like a rotted rope. Oh, every dollar, every favor, every second chance. Not seen as love or effort or sacrifice, just dues. I took a step back and picked up my phone from the coffee table. What are you doing? Mom asked, her eyes narrowing. I didn't answer. I dialed. 3 rings. 911, what's your emergency? My family members are outside my apartment, I said clearly. They weren't invited. They won't leave. They're not on the lease. There was silence behind me, then, You're calling the police? Mom whispered, like I'd just stabbed her. I turned to her. I asked you to leave. You didn't. Kyle's mouth dropped open. This is going to ruin everything. Do you even know what people will think of you? Yes, I said. They'll think I finally locked the door. The dispatcher asked for my address. I gave it. 10 minutes later, a patrol car pulled up. One officer stepped out. Young, calm, hand resting lightly on her belt. Evening, she said. We received a call about trespassing? That's me, I said. The officer looked at my parents, then Kyle, then the open trunk still full of dreams they didn't pay for. Ma'am, sir, she said to them, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises. Dad stepped forward again. This is our daughter. This is a family matter. The officer didn't blink. And this is her residence, which you are not permitted to occupy without her consent. Kyle looked like he might cry, or scream, or both. You're going to regret this, Julia. I shook my head. Number, I've regretted almost everything. Until now. They didn't move right away. So the officer stepped forward. Calm. Clear. If you don't leave, I will have to file a formal report. Your call. Finally, they moved. Boxes went back in the trunk. Doors slammed. Tires squealed a little too fast, pulling away. I closed the door gently. Locked it. Top and bottom. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I poured a glass of wine, opened my laptop, and typed 5 words into the search bar. How to legally change my name. The fallout was fast and loud. By noon the next day, I had 12 missed calls. 5 from Mom, 2 from Dad, the rest from numbers I didn't recognize. Cousins, maybe, or family friends I hadn't heard from since my college graduation. Then came the texts. Why would you do this to your own brother? Your mom hasn't stopped crying. Kyle's sleeping in his car. Is that what you wanted? No one asked if I was okay. That night, I scrolled through Facebook just to see how far the blast had spread. And there it was. A post from Mom, public, 3 long paragraphs written like a eulogy. Except the dead thing was me. We raised both our children to care for each other. One of them still remembers what that means. We're heartbroken. Kyle didn't deserve this. She was so successful, so fortunate. We never thought she'd turn her back like this. Underneath, a photo of me and Kyle as kids. Me smiling, him crying, and over 100 likes. Dozens of comments from people who hadn't seen me in years, calling me selfish, cold, ungrateful. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not in shock, not even in pain. Just still. Then I opened a folder I hadn't touched in 3 years. helpkyle.zip. I'd made it one night after wiring $2,500 to Mom's account to cover Kyle's lawyer for that DUI. It had receipts, screenshots, emails, voicemails. Things I kept not to throw in their faces, but because I needed to remember that I wasn't imagining it. That I had given everything. I drafted a post. No hashtags. No emojis. Just the truth. Screenshot of the $2,000 transfer I made to cover their mortgage. My name on Kyle's car loan next to the collections notice. A photo of the lawyer invoice from the DUI case. A screenshot of a text from Kyle 2 years ago calling me a boring robot for not letting him crash just 1 month. And finally, a copy of the lease termination and closing sale on my old apartment. At the bottom I wrote, I didn't abandon my family. I just stopped volunteering for emotional debt. I clicked post, and then I shut my laptop. Not out of fear, not to hide, just to breathe. But this time, I didn't crawl into silence. I didn't shrink. I called HR at work and asked to use my PTO, 3 full weeks. I didn't explain why. I didn't need to. I packed a small bag, fed the cat, and took off in my old car toward the state line. It was the most impulsive thing I'd done in years. No GPS, no destination, just driving. Just me. Somewhere outside Kansas City, I pulled over at a rest stop diner with a crooked sign that said, breakfast all day. The waitress smiled without asking anything of me. I ate pancakes and bacon and drank watery coffee until the world stopped buzzing. And that's when the call came. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something in me said, pick it up. It was Kyle. His voice was hoarse, flat, and totally unlike him. I saw your post, he said. Silence. I didn't know you kept all that. More silence. I guess I never really thought about what it cost you. I didn't speak, not out of spite. I just wanted to see how long he could sit in the quiet. Finally, he said, they're talking about suing you. I blinked. Excuse me? For defamation or something. Mom's furious. Dad said something about taking legal action. I don't even know if it's real or just them venting. I set down my fork. My hand didn't shake. My stomach didn't drop. I just smiled. Tell them to go ahead, I said. Kyle hesitated. What? Tell them I'll see them in court. And when we're there, I'll bring everything. Every loan, every transfer, every ignored email where I begged for someone else to step up. Every voicemail Mom left crying because you crashed your car again. Let's do it. Let's document everything. He was silent. Then I heard him whisper, like a kid who just realized there was no way out. They won't win. No, I said. But I will. And that's when I pulled out a second folder I'd never touched before. Power of Attorney Mom.pdf. Because 3 years ago, during one of Mom's health scares, she made me her financial executor. And legally, that Facebook post? It wasn't just emotional manipulation. It was slander. From someone I had full legal authority over. They didn't think I'd actually do it. That's what made it so easy. When Mom's friend Karen, who works in real estate, reached out asking, what's going on with your family? Your mom said you're threatening legal action? I just smiled and replied, no threats, just documentation. That week, I made 3 phone calls. First, to an estate attorney. Second, to my employer's legal assistance program. Third, to a local journalist I knew from college. Someone who still owed me a favor. What I didn't expect was how fast the silence turned into panic. By the time my attorney sent a formal letter revoking my power of attorney rights and requested a full audit of all joint accounts, guess who came running? Not Kyle. Mom. She called at 6:47 a.m., like I'd accidentally unplugged her life support. Julia, sweetheart, this is going too far. You've always been the strong one, the rational one. Don't let anger destroy the family." Anger? I almost laughed. I told her calmly that I wasn't angry anymore. Just done. And that everything I was doing, from the audit to the official statement clearing my name publicly, wasn't for revenge. It was for the record. Because when people spend years erasing you, sometimes the only justice you get is proof you existed. Then came the blow that no one expected. The journalist called me back. She said, "I read through the documents. The paper's not interested in a scandal, but they are interested in a human interest piece. Quiet caretakers, the hidden cost of being the strong one." I told her I'd think about it. 3 days later, Kyle posted a shaky Instagram video claiming I had betrayed the family and used his struggles for clout. In the background, I could see he was filming from a motel room. The comments didn't go the way he'd hoped. People weren't mad at me. They were tired. For me, I didn't reply. I didn't have to. Instead, I sent my final message to the family group chat. Effective immediately, I will no longer be responsible for anyone's financial, emotional, or legal well-being but my own. If you need help, I suggest therapy, not my inbox. I wish you peace, but not proximity. Then I left the group, deleted it, blocked all 3. I thought the silence afterward would feel empty, but it didn't. It felt clean. Weeks passed. The audit revealed nothing illegal, but plenty of gray lines, credit cards in my name I hadn't opened, a life insurance policy with my info listed as financial contact. Quietly, professionally, I cut every tie. No courtroom drama, no fist-slamming breakdowns. Just exits. Clean ones. Then came the final blow, the twist they never saw coming. I changed my name, legally, not out of shame, not to hide, but to end the sentence they'd been writing for me my whole life. They raised a daughter to be convenient. I became a woman who said no, and for the first time, that was enough. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that people will shame you for protecting your peace, especially when they've benefited from your silence. But survival isn't selfish. It's sacred. If any part of this hit close to home, feel free to share your story in the comments. You don't have to carry it alone. And if you'd like to hear more stories like this, ones about real people choosing freedom over obligation, you can stick around. I'll be here. Quiet, but not invisible anymore.